Rhodes keyboards are getting harder and harder to find, and I'm super lucky to own one. The one that we're recording on today is a late 1970s Fender Rhodes Mark II stage piano. One of the cool things about Rhodes is that you can do anything to them that you can do to a guitar because they're meant to go through a guitar amp, so all the stomp boxes and all that kind of stuff you can add into a Rhodes sound. Today we're wanting to get more of a kind of clean, pure tone, so we're going through my Fender Deluxe reissue. Today I'm going to show you the setup that we're using to record. I'm also going to take you inside the recording session as we do it, and I'm going to show you the mechanics of how the Rhodes works. So the setup that I'm using to record this Rhodes is actually pretty simple. You could just take the output from the Rhodes and put it into an amplifier and then mic the amplifier with like a Shure 57 and then go into your DAW. This is a little bit more complicated than that. I'm going out of the Rhodes into my pedal board and I'm bypassing the pedal board, except I'm using the DI out from my pedal board because of convenience. And that goes into a mixer that's over by the guitar amp, and I run parallel compression in that mixer of the signal. And then out of the mixer, it goes into a DI reamp box, and that then goes into the amplifier. And really all this is doing is boosting the signal a little bit so I get a little bit more signal to noise ratio, and it compresses the signal a little bit, and it just kind of tightens it up. But it's not really necessary for most people, but a lot of people do use preamps with these because they're pretty low output devices. And from there, I'm just miking it with a Shure 57 from my Fender Deluxe reissue. I am doing what I consider the most important thing, which is I actually have the amp surrounded by gobos or sound absorbers, and a sound absorber behind a guitar amplifier. And I've said this a bunch of times on the channel before, but it's one of the most valuable things that you can do. It just tightens up the low end a lot. And I have some on the sides too, just to kind of stop some of the room reflections from going back into the microphone, because I want this really, really direct sounding. So we're really in the console just using the mic preamp from the console. I have the volume, which I can't quite get into frame, is set to unity gain, which is 0. There's no phantom, no pad. The polarity, of course, is not, because we're using a single mic. We, of course, have the mic engaged. The preamp is up about halfway because I have the amp pretty loud, so I don't need it super loud. The EQ is turned off. We're hitting in about -10 on the console. I'm not wanting to push it really hard. And our final kind of peaks in Logic are right around -16, something like that. I have everything set up to record, but I haven't done a sound check yet. So I'm going to do a sound check and just see what sounds I'm recording and if I need to adjust any mics or anything like that. And I always just keep my wireless keyboard, Bluetooth keyboard, and I can run the key commands like R for record and spacebar to stop. And I just put a loop around the section I want to record in the song. I find it much easier than using the digital apps from an iPhone and all that kind of stuff. There we go, let's go take a listen and see how it sounds. One of the things I'm most concerned about is noise on the track, because Fender Rhodes has a pretty low output signal, and I just want to make sure that I'm not getting too much noise on the track. I'm actually really happy with the sound of that. It's the first mic placement that I guessed at. I know my amp pretty well, but I really like the kind of the high end. This Fender reissue, this Fender Deluxe reissue, is a bit of a special one. I tried out a whole bunch of Deluxes, and this one has a really special high end where it almost sounds like there's a little bit of chorus on it when there's no chorus at all. And it makes this kind of, I don't know, I call it a glassy kind of sound, for lack of a better term. And I really like the attacks on the Rhodes that it's getting. It just, yeah, it's just really nice. And I'm a pretty mediocre piano player. I can get by on rhythms, and this is a pretty simple rhythm. So now I just get to go through and have fun and put down takes for this. So I like that take, and I'm going to go mark that take in my DAW. But the question is, and what I always like to do is say, can we beat that take? So, I mean, that was take number 2, and I think I can play it a little bit tighter, but I'm going to go mark that one because I like that one. So I messed up on the ending of that one, but I like the first part of it, and between the last 3, that should be pretty cool. Recording Rhodes is pretty simple, where you can just go out of the Rhodes into an amplifier with a Shure 57. You're probably going to be good, but there are a couple of things to keep in mind. Like I mentioned before, these are low output devices, so you can end up with more noise in your amplifier, and guitar amplifiers are noisy anyways, but you can end up with more noise in your amplifier than you normally would with a guitar. You can solve that by using a preamp with the Rhodes to get more signal to the amplifier. You have to get your line impedance right, which that's another video. But they're generally pretty good. If you're recording a Rhodes line that's mixed into a mix, noise isn't really going to be a problem. If you're recording a solo Rhodes, that would be more where I would worry about it. But the other thing to worry about is the pedal for it is a physical, it does a mechanical thing, as opposed to our digital stuff, where, I don't know if you can hear that through my lav mic, but it's pretty clunky and pretty loud, and the keys are pretty loud as well. And so you want the actual Rhodes unit to be pretty far away from the mic that you're recording through the amp with, and either in a separate room, but having them, like I'm not in a separate room, I'm just all out in my live room here, but I'm 25 feet away from the amplifier. And so you have to have a good cue system set up so that you can have the distance between the two, so you don't end up hearing all the clicking through the microphone while you're recording it. So to be honest, I don't exactly know how this works mechanically, but I'm going to give you my best mechanical guess. Because what I can see is, like a piano, what happens is there's felts that are on the strings, and when you hit a key, they actually move away, and a hammer comes up and hits the string, or multiple strings actually on a piano, that makes the string resonate, and then when you let go of the key, the felt pad comes back up and mutes the string. And then the sustain pedal stops, like it takes all of the mutes off so that everything just rings. And this looks like it's doing a very similar thing, and they're supposed to be built basically like a piano. And I can see that there's like a metal wire with another wire wrapped around it. And that's connected to the tine. And there's a felt pad mute that moves away, and there's a hammer that's back, so you can see that there's a metal, or not a metal, it's a plastic or neoprene or rubber that comes up and hits. I'm not exactly sure how that wire is connected to the tine, but I do know if I hit this tine, that I can mute it just by touching my fingers, and the tine is definitely vibrating. So the sound appears to be coming from the tine and a combination of that rod. Pretty interesting technology and pretty simple wiring. It looks like there's basically a pickup, and they're wired in series, I think, that connect all of these together. So there's a whole bunch of pickups, and that just goes to this output jack, which is, I don't know if that's a standard 1/4 inch jack, but then that just gets wired over to here where you plug in. And it's just a basic tone knobs, like you would do on a guitar, over here for the electronics. And I don't see any other electronics in here. This is going to a ground. That looks like it. And these are fully, weighted keys. And this is meant to feel like a piano. It doesn't feel like a piano. There's a lot more I typically want to really hit this when I'm playing it because you're just trying to drive more attack out of it because it's a pretty soft instrument, which probably isn't the best way to do it. But it's a really simple mechanical instrument, and that I can see that's all the electronics that are in it is just basically a whole bunch of pickups. This was a really fun video to make because I just love this instrument and it's one of my favorites that I own in the studio. Please like and subscribe, that really does help the channel, and I'll answer everybody's questions in the comments. And also, if you want more information, click the link in the description to the 5 pieces of gear you won't regret buying. It's a PDF on my website.